Hey, it's Soul with another video, and today we're going to talk about, player housing. You knew what you signed up for. We're going to shift gears. We're going to leave our concerns and worries behind and focus on the exciting stuff. So I guess think of us as coming together in a fun little round table. We have some drinks and some snacks, and we're just going to talk about what would be cool. I'm going to revisit some old topics, but put a focus on what folks are talking about. And now that we know what we know, what are the popular asks that haven't been confirmed yet or are still being discussed? And I'm going to give a bit of a personal take on whether I think it's going to actually happen or if it's just like a matter of time. If you don't mind, please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and drop a line too. Let us know what are your player housing wants or needs. First, like I said, we're going to revisit a few topics I've talked up a lot already. I'm going to get these out of the way first. Many gamers want more than just one house per faction. Our World of Warcraft careers, they're our own, and it's none of our business why some folks want a separate house for their character as opposed to a big old warband party house. I suggested one of the main challenges to this is how this would disrupt neighborhoods, because players would be too busy switching between alts and splitting their attention between not just multiple houses, but multiple neighborhoods, meaning there'd be way more neighborhoods and houses than there are actual players online, resulting in lots of ghost towns right when the feature starts. But many of you have brought up the very cool suggestion of forcing all of our alts to occupy the same plot and neighborhood. So if I did want to have like 2 or 3 or 65 houses, I can. And I can tell the game, hey, video game, just display my favorite house in my neighborhood. Meanwhile, I can tinker with all my other ones and suffer having to collect 500 chairs and beds, and the only one suffering is me. And neighborhoods are otherwise just fine. See, you guys are pretty good at making suggestions. Now, this doesn't solve the more specific wants like, hey, I want my Blood Elf Hunter to be in the woods, but I want my Goblin Warlock down there in that cave, and I want my Lightforged Draenei dude to be in space. So it's not perfect, but it's progress. Whatever the case, I'm 100% certain there will be a solution that takes us beyond the limits that are announced so far. Eventually, it's much easier for the WoW team to start with a focused approach rather than stretch themselves too thin, I imagine. I think having alt houses occupying the same space is a great jumping off point for additional feedback. Eventually, adding smaller lots in private spaces, that's a big ask that I think will also be answered. But for launch, I think Blizzard's determined to get us focused on making a big old grand hall for our champions condensed into this, tiny little shape in one of 55 neighborhood slots. We've only got light confirmation on armor and weapon racks, so it's safe to say they're going to make it by launch, but in what form? We got a tiny bit from the initial concept, but what more might we see? I'd like to be able to simply take a weapon or a shield and just suspend it in the air if I really want to. And while an armor rack is cool, my attention goes to the wooden mannequins by the trading post. It'd be great to have dummies that are in a certain pose who can wear any armor I want with no restrictions. Would it be really cool if we can customize these poses, allowing us to make dioramas or reenactments of, I don't know, Sylvanas making out with Thanos or something, but I'm stoked to hear more about that soon. Before we continue, we've got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Into the AM. They're back to use me as a human billboard and hype up a massive Memorial Day sale that extends all the way to June 1st. Check out intotheam.com and use my code SOUL10 for an additional 10% off. Now, y'all know I love my shirts, and Into the AM offers a very healthy mix of stylish and functional wear in the threading and blend that fits you best. One of my favorites is the Beyond Horizons tee shown here because mine got lost in the mail, but it's okay, they're making up for it and everything's gonna be fine. You can find deals up to 70% off until June 1st. Just check out intotheam.com/soul10 to find some great deals as we get into summer. So check them out and let's get back to housing. Gamers are really excited over bringing their homes and yards to life by populating them with NPCs like pets, or how about a succubus as a maid or a butler, or your very own chef, or even members of your warband lounging around. In my conversations with the WoW team, at least one developer explained one of WoW's challenges includes pathing for NPCs, which we've been seeing for years, but were really noticeable during World of Warcraft with our followers and minions patrolling about. Think of citizens walking around Dalaran on the Broken Isles, or during Battle for Azeroth, the city activity in Borealis and Zuldazar. So how does the WoW team set something like that up in player housing? Will the follower dungeon behavior somehow be adapted to suit this, or will a warband be jumping all over the furniture? If I skip a few steps and it's like, whoa, Blizzard managed to tool a new AI pathing system for NPCs and player housing, I can't help but think maybe I can amuse myself by making these ridiculous mazes for NPCs to try and navigate through. Like, think of those videos where you see the hamsters and guinea pigs go through some ridiculously adorable obstacle course. I know you've seen at least like 40 of them. But commenters out there have pointed out over in Elder Scrolls Online, which has its own very rich player housing system, they've solved the pathing problem by putting the power of pathing in the hands of players, those lazy devs. But I'm kidding, that's actually really awesome. It's also very advanced sounding, so while I can see something like that down the road, it might be a little bit too much to have it or to force it in before launch. That said though, I'm gonna suck up some copium and hope that the WoW team does figure out some sort of like AI approach to pathing to give us players a basic start to populate in our homes by launch or like shortly after. So by that I mean we can assign NPCs or pets or characters in our warband to populate a bedroom or a lounge area, and then they graze about and maybe interact with a few objects. Lighting can help provide a unique flavor in housing, and at the moment our control over it is pretty limited. Some of you might have seen my little example of brightening up a space with a fake window and background lit up by a bunch of windows facing downward behind this obstruction. There are a few things gamers are looking for in this particular space. First is to adjust the ambient lighting, as in how lit the house is with no light sources present. I think it'd be cool if we can turn down the lights by like a lot, like maybe near pitch black like a certain dungeon, making builders rely on light sources, because that would make for a pretty cool and spooky vibe. But also we should be able to control the intensity of light sources, so if we want to have a bunch of like stained glass windows against the wall to provide a glow in one direction, hey, that ought to be a thing. Other commenters have also suggested giving the lighting its own day and night cycle to give that feeling of returning late after a long evening of killing internet dragons. I want to think to myself that setting up the ambient lighting can make it before launch. Being able to adjust the intensity of like candles, lamps, and windows, maybe that's a different story, but it would do so much to set the mood once that gets in. I heard a lot of folks who want photos and screenshots in their house. Something tells me that's less likely to happen the way we'd like to, but it'd be very neat to be able to take a quote picture of our characters and the game would like generate a pre-render of our character, kind of like how we see in the WoW Armory. So it's less cool than posting our guild kill shots of bosses or other memories, but it would actually be pretty neat to have a kind of faceplate feature where we can like trade these to others and basically in our home hang up portraits of our friends, our guildmates, our lovers, and in some darkly lit corner of the house, all the people on our list, you know what I mean? Something like that. Like most things in housing, it's going to be like new tech. So I'm looking at this as a very post-launch sort of feature. And real quick on PvP, because I mentioned this before, what if we can have certain rooms that are flagged for PvP? Normally the house and neighborhood are flagged as sanctuary places where no PvP is possible, not even duels. If they were to add something like this, we could have the possibility of players making their own arenas. That would be extremely cool for the PvP community who feels kind of neglected these days. In interviews, the team said there wouldn't be any sub-basements, that you would enter the home through the front door on the first floor. I kind of don't like that though. What if my house is like the mage or warrior order hall with some, I guess, very weird entrances? What I'm suggesting is to have a way to come in and out that isn't exactly a door. Like maybe I want to use a transporter pad from the outside, that would be like my house entrance, and I would beam into a transporter room. It would be very like WoW sci-fi, and we've already got plenty of that. We can make a whole game out of it too. Like what if you zone into someone's house and you drop immediately into the bottom of a pit, and now it's a jumping puzzle and you gotta get out. Depending on what sorts of tools the WoW team decides to give us down the road, they're like at the edge of giving us a full-on level editor, a dungeon maker, and more, but probably not right away. This next one might sail over your heads a bit, but it sounds very cool, at least when I'm telling myself this. So right now, when we set up a room, we can edit the walls and floors to be of a certain theme. They can be like human and blood elf, and like there's some other themes, and this is done on a per room basis. So maybe you can have the floor be like human, it's probably just wooden planks. The walls could be like this bright marble that's for blood elves, and you can mix and match. Those are things that we found in the demo, but hear me out. What if these walls and floors can be changed to an outdoor environment? Like you can change the floor to grass or dirt, you can change the walls and ceilings to be kind of invisible, revealing a vast field with an open skybox that you can customize. Now that would be totally crazy because you would have these biome rooms separated by a door, and it'd be like crossing from one realm or dimension to another. the whole approach to building would be different, because then gamers would create these makeshift transparent windows and outdoor gardens and courtyards and even customizable weather effects with timers and patterns. You can see how housing can just blow up if we remove the walls here. We can have this hallway of champions, and through each door on the side is a different part of Azeroth where members of our warband reside, and they're all like linked together through this interdimensional rift of sorts. That could sound super exciting, because the way housing works, you can effectively create buildings inside rooms, and what I'm asking for is to basically remove the wall skins to give the illusion you're building outside. And each room/zone has its own maybe customizable music via jukebox. They spoke a tiny bit on the music stuff, and it's something that they're thinking about post-launch, so keep your eyes peeled. But the whole skybox thing, huge potential if they were to explore that even more. Utility is a very hot topic, with gamers debating the merits of a mailbox all the way up to a mine and garden or even a mission table. So it's important to draw some distinctions between what some gamers want versus what some gamers want but the WoW team is already mostly saying no to. And also, to be mindful, we haven't heard much about the social side of neighborhoods and what they might provide. They basically didn't really give a peep about utility, probably to get us talking about it, and here we are. They were clear in saying they don't want the house to replace outdoor content like the Garrison did, although in fairness there wasn't much outdoor content to begin with, burn. So we probably shouldn't hold out hope for a mine or garden or mission table, but what would be very cool, and again, neighborhoods might cover this, would be the kind of gameplay loop that's all about housing for housing. So if there were resources to farm for inside the neighborhood, like gathering wood or other materials, a way to ask neighbors or NPCs for help, and it served housing, I think that adds to housing gameplay without it being like this new endgame feature that raiders and other folks need to participate in. But profession tables feels like it's just gotta be a part of housing. Like, it just wouldn't feel right if it wasn't, and it's a very big ask from players. I want to make a grand old workshop for my warband, and it feels like way too natural of a thing to craft my stuff from my home or my base or palace or whatever we want to call it. Like, don't tell me I can't have a kitchen to cook in, all right? What would work best? We don't know if trade chat will be accessible in the house or in the neighborhood. If not, it's going to mean gold makers will still be hanging out in the city to pick up orders, which makes sense from a commerce standpoint. But if I'm fulfilling guild order requests or patron orders, in a way those are sent directly to me, so maybe that's okay, right? Accessing our personal and reagent bank or even war bank, that makes perfect sense. I mean, after all, it's our collective place. We've had a bank in World of Warcraft because we didn't have a home. Now that we do have a home, now it's called personal storage. Like, that's my line of thinking. Guild bank is, kind of a maybe. I mean, because really what's stopping us from having a home or even a neighborhood dedicated to a guild? They should have a bank too. Perks, though, are something I consider separate from utility, and I've been seeing a lot of folks asking for stuff like faster rest XP gain when logging out at home. Like, that's the vibe we're going with here. So what about this one I mentioned a while back? Like, let's say you have an armor crafting table set up. You unlock a perk where, if your character logs out while inside the house, they very slowly repair their own armor. Now, it's going to be slow. It's going to be like, what, like 1 durability every few hours or something like that, but it would be kind of neat to think my character's logged out but still doing stuff. There's no end to the perks until we cross a line. Like, for example, let me unlock maybe a cool food buff that's always available at home and it persists for a while, but don't make it so good that it replaces consumable buffs that we would want to use in raids or dungeons or wherever. But what about transmog? Like, should transmog be free in the home since it's, home and we're just kind of changing our clothes? Or is transmog going to be like aptly defined as this magical thing the ethereals do for a charge? Meanwhile, many have asked for a portal room kind of thing. Like, let's pretend maybe it's unlockable if you have an engineer to make a bunch of teleport pads, or you complete some far off questline and you get these portal blueprints of sorts. Now, here's where I think we start running into this figurative line. If it feels like it's required to have a high-level engineer or do that crazy quest to unlock this portal room, is that good? Or does it now feel like something people will begrudgingly set up because the perk is that powerful? So I guess to define that line, it's when everyone feels like they must have it in their house, otherwise they feel like they're missing out, or they feel like they're losing like a certain quality of life. Now, that's different from, say, Hey, like they have the cutting edge version of Terralian's head, spoiler alert, and I only have the ahead of the curve version. I think if they go through with perks, Blizzard's going to be very conservative about it because, well, once it's in, it's hard to take out, and it's going to feel really, really awful if they try to nerf it. And there's non-perks that can also be a personal form of progression, like I've heard lots of chatter over bookcases and filling them up with all the story and text from the game. Imagine having a whole adventure filling out your library, and this idea doesn't have to be limited to books either. How about filling out a bestiary you can display on your wall with additional achievements awarding like trophies and heads and so much more. And we can do this all day and only scratch the surface on what folks want from housing. I'm paraphrasing here, but the devs said this during the Boston Media Summit. It's not that there's a shortage of ideas, but the question they ask themselves is, where do we start? Another line from Blizzard regarding themselves: if they came at us, the players, with a solid 3-year plan of everything coming, we should be worried because they forged ahead with ideas without any of our feedback or reactions to what they're proposing. Now, they do have a roadmap of what they decided was the most important stuff they want to get into our hands day one of housing, but they're leaving lots of room for listening to feedback and bringing suggestions to life and, of course, shifting gears. These just happen to be some of the biggest ideas I wanted to share with you, but now it's your turn. Leave your thoughts or a list of things that you want to see or else. Please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.